Welcome, everyone, and welcome, Lynn. I'm so glad that you made time to give us this presentation today. I'm really excited about it. And I think that, lots of people are too. We've got love hearts floating past me. No idea whether that records or not. But Lynn, just to set the stage for everyone, for those of you who don't know, Lynn and I first met when Lynn was in one of my Stanford classes, and we were actually talking about marketing, publishing, how to prepare yourself to query your books or send them out or find some other route. And Lynn said to me very early on, I tell a lot of my writers that no wind is a good wind unless you know which harbor you seek. And the best thing that you can do for yourself is be very, very honest with yourself, like very super honest, because this is the hardest part, about what you really want from your book. And then once you have that, it's much easier to know which route will be good for you. And Lynn came to me and said, I've decided that I'm actually going to self-publish. And I possibly a little skeptically said, why? Like, you haven't tried the traditional route yet. Like, what do you want from it? And Lynn was crystal clear. I remember how clear she was. She was crystal clear that with her first book at that time, Lynn has since published two books. So she's going to tell you about those and tell you about the successes with each and how they step up. But 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 at that time, before her first book in this series coming out, she said to me really clearly, I'm not so much interested about sales at the moment. What I'm really interested about is exposure. I want to get this book out there to as many people who want to read this book as possible. And she was very clear about that too, that she's not trying to go to every reader in the universe, just the people who like cozy mysteries like hers. She wanted to make sure that those people could find her book, and she wanted to set herself up for bringing out her second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh book, because what Lynn wanted out of this was a series of cozy mysteries. So that first book was an investment in the career that she was going to build for herself. And the rubric, the metric she was going to use was very clearly exposure. And Lynn has made a huge success, I think, by anybody's count when it comes to exposure and how many people have actually seen that book now. As we go into these numbers, I want you guys to remember that the publishing industry is like notoriously hard to find figures, but the most recent figure, which isn't super current, but the latest figure that we have is still about 200 copies for the average self-published volume. So you're really measuring up against that. And for many, many books, I used to run my own publishing company. We were very successful with our publicity. I was on NPR a whole bunch of times, et cetera, et cetera. And our leading title, I think we sold maybe 2,500. And that's with like a lot of like team effort put behind it. So that just frames us up so that when you hear some of Lynn's numbers, you're not like, is that a good number or a bad number? Just don't forget, 200, 2,000. All right. So Lynn, I am going to hand over to you if you'd like to share your screen and begin. I'm going to take
Yep.
my spotlight off so you'll be left with the spotlight firmly on you.
Okay. Got it. So first I should say I did write two books before these mystery series, and I tried the traditional route. I ended up self-publishing them, but I had queried, I had looked for agents, I had kind of tried all of that, and I feel like I gave it a fair shot. So I had some basis of comparing that. Then when I took Sharon's class and she was offering kind of these different paths, I started thinking about the self-publishing path, and I think several things came together well for that. One, there's just a ton of resources, or just more and more resources for figuring out how to do that. And two, I hit a point where I was empty nest, so I actually had even more time that I could spend trying to figure all this kind of stuff out. And I figured out that there's two things I like making things and I like figuring things out. And so those two come together really well for figuring out how to do the indie path and that kind of journey. So first I found some indie authors who were wildly successful. So I sort of stalked their websites and I looked at like, what are they doing and how can I figure out how to do that kind of stuff? Um, so I'm going to share some of what I found. I imagine if people on here are also on this path, there's going to be things I completely leave out because I don't feel like I've figured out the whole terrain, but I have some areas that I have figured out that have worked for me. So this is kind of some of the topics I'm going to try to hit. I'm going to do a quicker version of the first couple because really preparing the book and all the things that go with that is more Lisa and Sharin's area, like how getting a really good product. I'm really not even going to pay as much attention to that, but then how to put it together and get it out there and find exposure is the stuff I really want to pay attention to. So here are kind of some of my numbers for right now. So total orders, I did a lot of free downloads. I decided that I would rather have a lot of people reading my book and me not making much money than no people reading my book and me not making much money. So, there was like and this was sort of since it was the beginning of a series, it was proof of concept. If I could get a lot of people who liked it, then maybe they'd be interested in my next book. So you'll see there was a lot of those orders that were free. Then the paid totals that I have actually was exceeded what I would have set out for myself as a goal. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then the Kindle Unlimited Pages is a separate set of numbers. So that's roughly, if everybody had actually finished them, which I'm not sure that everybody does, but it'd be roughly 833 more books. So I feel like I did get my book out to people, or my two books. And then here's a little bit of a breakdown. So between the first two, the first one was published a year ago, and then the second one, the Paired Up Cufflinks, was published in January. Um, by doing the free giveaways and tying them together with the time that the book was launched, I ended up actually as #1 new release in Psychic Mysteries. And I think that was purely a function of the way I set up the releases, and I did a Goodreads giveaway, which I'll talk about later. Those all came together on the first day to look like to Amazon that I had a lot of sales, but it was actually a lot of giveaways. But Amazon likes seeing that number, so then it'll start showing it to people. Okay, so the basics that I think really are important if you are going to be able to get good exposure and have people want to read your books. Obviously, the highest quality writing that you can pull off. Again, that's Sharon, Lisa, everybody who can help you with that. Edited. I have beta readers, a paid editor. I went over and over and over. I had a copy editor. I want to make it look as professional as possible. So in comparison to traditional books that people might be buying, it shouldn't look really that different. Professional cover is an important part, and Sharon will laugh at this because I showed Sharon the cover that I made, and she was like, "Oh no, no, that's just not good enough." And she set me up with a cover artist. And you can see what the difference is between what I came up with. And I mean, I still like mine, but it's totally does not look as professional and as polished as the other one. So that was a useful kind of thing to know. Also, I meant on that last slide, the blurb. I think the blurb is crucial. Like you just should spend as much time as possible because that is what people are going to see. If you're on Amazon, let's say, that's what they see right away. That's what Amazon uses to get your book to people. So it's important with the blurb. And here's an example of this is an exercise that I found really helpful to make a good blurb. Um, Amazon is literally looking at your words, like at your tropes. They want to match your book with the people who want your book, which lines up exactly with what I wanted. When I did my Steve-O letter, Dear Steve-O letter with Sharon, I was like, I want to find the people who like a cozy mystery. I don't want to sell it to one more person than somebody who likes a cozy. I'm not trying to get large numbers just to have numbers. I'm literally trying to find only the people that would like my book. If it's 10 people, great. If it's 1 million people, great. And so I found this blurb, and you can look him up online, but he has you go through and literally find people in your genre, hand write out their blurb, and then highlight what's the hook, what's the lead, what's the snapper, and he describes what those things are. What are the tropes? And by doing that, I probably did 20 of those. I started to get a flavor and a feel for what a good blurb would include. Okay. I just want to take a quick talk about formatting and uploading your book because that's also part of the professional appearance of it. There's some really good resources on that. I had a class with Alessandra Torre. You can look her up. She has a lot of good indie publishing resources. Um, I used to use Word and then I used Scrivener, and now I'm using Atticus because from what I understand, Atticus is a way easier program to not have to keep adjusting some of the formatting when it uploads. So like the chapter headings stay where they're supposed to be. Um, People on Mac use Vellum. I think Atticus is, I don't know if it's for both Mac and PC, but it's definitely PC. And the other thing that I would say, highly recommend is buy your own ISBNs. So the ISBN, the number attached to your book, Amazon can give them to you for free. But if you decide to go wide, which means you're distributing your book outside of Amazon, it gets complicated because then you can't use their ISBN. If you find another one, now it's confusing to search engines and everywhere else because you have two different ISBNs. So I think it's very much worth purchasing. I think I bought 10, I want to say it's $100, and also came with a QR code, which I made use of later. So I would highly recommend that as part of the setting your whole document up for publishing. Let's see, the launch. So just as an example, the Torrey class I took had a dominate your release checklist, and it was 6 pages long. It had way more stuff than I ever could have gotten to. It was really overwhelming. Jane Friedman has a really good one too. Those are useful to kind of get an eagle eye view of what all the things are that you might eventually want to do. And then you have to kind of shrink back down and some people call it eagle view versus mouse view. Then just mouse view, like look at what are the few things I could do. I would say with my first mystery, I did maybe a third of the things on that checklist. And with this second go round, I'm probably maybe done two-thirds. I still have not gotten through most of the things, but it's just useful to have it because it's stuff that I'm going to add in. So I would say don't panic. You can't do it all. It looks overwhelming if you haven't taken this path and you start to look at all these things. I think you can just chip your way through it. I just did a little bit at a time. The main thing I think is I worked backwards from release day, and Sharon was also helpful with this. I didn't really understand if there's all this stuff you want to do beforehand, how much further back you have to go. So, for example, my book cover took 3 iterations. So we got it, I uploaded it, I ordered a proof. A proof took like 7 to 10 days to come, and the color didn't come out right. So then I got back with the cover artist, took him a couple days to get back to me. We fixed the color, sent it, same thing. Then it went kind of too much the other way. So it took 3 times to really get it right. So that was, a good at least 3, 4, 5 weeks to have that cover ready to go before launch day. So there are just things that you want to look at and work backwards and say, okay, these are the things I would have to do if I want to launch by that particular day. Okay, so then there's some things to do to get exposure for launch, before launch, which I didn't do any of the first one in this series, and I've done some of them this time. And I think they've been helpful, but I wouldn't like I didn't feel bad that I didn't get them done the first time. So this is the first time I did use a review site. I used two. I used NetGalley, which if you're familiar with it, if people are, you get ARCs, so you can upload your book and people sign up to read your book and they'll give you a review for it before the book comes out. So then by the time the book is out, you have some reviews that you can use. And you have a lot of control about who you agree to let read it. So you can look at their profile, you can see if they tend to give a high review, if they tend to review in your genre, and then you can accept or not accept them to do it. NetGalley tends to be very expensive, but there are things called co-ops. I use Victory Editing Co-op, and they basically group together a bunch of authors and they make it a lot cheaper. And then I also use Book Sirens, which was another really, I got some very helpful reviews for Book Sirens. The beta readers, what I did was I asked, and this was like just people in my writing groups, my friends. I don't even have a list yet of people I don't know to be beta readers. But what I asked them is once they were done reading it, if they wouldn't mind writing the review right away while it was fresh and sending it to me. And then when the day came to put the reviews up on Goodreads and Amazon or whatever, I sent them back the review and I sent them the links to the places it would be helpful to upload it. So the Goodreads, as it turns out, and I hadn't really understood or thought about it this way, but Goodreads is its own social media, but it's social media completely focused on books. So it's a great place to get some exposure because people go on there only looking for books. They're not looking for cat videos and all the other stuff. They're literally there to find out about books. So anything you can do on there is useful. A Goodreads giveaway you can set up before your launch, it's say maybe 30 days before, and you get the choice of whether you want to give away a couple hard copies that you then mail to the people who won, or you can give away ebooks, and you can give away, I think, up to 100. So I gave away 100 ebooks as for the winners of my Goodreads giveaway. And during the course of the giveaway, I think it was around 1,600 people entered the giveaway. And what that means is my book went on there to be read shelf. So anybody who looked at their profiles saw my book. So it's really advertising that gets out to a whole bunch of people, and it's a paid thing. It's not super expensive. But it was you pay for it, but I think it paid off tremendously because lots of people had that book up and people were sort of seeing the cover and seeing that somebody wanted to read it. And this was purely by chance. Now I would do it on purpose. I had the giveaway end on the day that the book launched. So 100 people got a copy of my book that day. And I think that's also part of what drove me into that number one psychic mystery category because Amazon saw a whole bunch of people get that book that day. Um, Many people seem to be fans of the mailing list. I have yet to get that organized for myself. So I know everybody seems to have mailing lists. I have great aspirations to someday manage that. I still don't have that set up, but I have to mention it because a lot of people use it. Another thing to do before launch is once you have your cover, you can do cover reveals on social media, or if you have a mailing list or anywhere that you might put something out, and that gets people excited about it. And then you can do, and I'll talk about social media more later, but you can do posts about a countdown to the book. You could just put up pictures like one more week, can't wait, or pictures of yourself with the cover, or stuff like that. Okay, some Amazon considerations. So I'm a big fan of Kindle Unlimited. It's worked well for me, and that could in part be genre. So cozy mystery and romance readers read tons, and they read them fast, and they like to have access really fast to them. And so um, on Kindle Unlimited, people can take a chance on your book because it's free to them. So I think that's a really crucial thing, especially as a new author where you might not have much name recognizability. Um, Even myself, like I love to read new authors, but if I saw somebody I didn't know anything about them and their book was even like $3.99, I might not take the chance. I might read a sample, but then I might not ever go back and get it. So I think having it in Kindle Unlimited gets you access to a lot of people who otherwise might not have taken a chance on it. And the point is, Amazon wants to sell stuff. They're in the business of getting people to buy their products. And so they are looking very carefully at are people buying your book? And the more that you can get people directed to your book, the better. So that's why I said the blurb is so important. The keywords are so important. So the keywords that you put in is helping Amazon put your book in front of the people who want to buy your book. Amazon, it kind of was enlightening for me. In one of my classes, somebody said, Amazon wants to sell your book. They would love to make money on you. You just have to help them find the people who would like your book, which exactly aligns with my dear Steve-O. I also want to just find the people who would like my book. So I'm doing everything I can. So Dave Chesson, who's a Kindlepreneur, and these resources are all on my webpage. I think Sharon might share that. I have a resource page where I put everything that I've used. So everything I've talked about, there'll be a link to that. And this guy, Dave Chesson, who calls himself Kindlepreneur, he just talks about everything Amazon. He made this program called Publisher Rocket, which helps you find the keywords that are most useful on Amazon right now related to the type of book you have. And so it will literally give you Like you give your genre and the words you might use, and it'll give you the percentage of people who are buying the books based on on that word. So I find that very useful. You buy it once and then you can use it as much as you want. Similar to that, your brand is very important for Amazon. You want, if you're cozy, you don't want your pictures to look horrifying. So I, on purpose, have used the background on these slides to show you this is my cozy vibe. Like I am trying to, this is what I have kind of um, so that Amazon and the readers know what it is that I'm offering them. And so I'm trying with my pictures, I'm trying with my keywords, I'm trying with the blurb. What I discovered was, even though I call my book cozy, some people have a very rigid definition of cozy. So for a lot of people, cozy mystery cannot include anything at all sexy. It can't include anything very gory. They don't like dark drama. I have a little bit more of those things in my book than the traditional cozy. So I ended up adding, and this is a place on Amazon where you can, it's called A plus material, which if you're on the page, the place where it says from the publisher is what the A plus material is. You can go in and you can add that yourself. So I on purpose put on a description of my series. I wrote why it's cozy, and then I wrote how it is beyond cozy because I want to be very clear. I don't want somebody who is uncomfortable with anything beyond cozy to buy my book because then they're not going to like it. Or they're going to click on my book, they're going to see they don't like it, and then they won't buy it. And so the more somebody clicks and then doesn't buy, Amazon's like, maybe people don't like this book. So you just want to be as abundantly clear about what it is you're offering the reader as possible. So you can see, like, I try to set a mood. There's coffee, there's books. I added a little bit of a gun to the part where it says it's like not, it's a little bit beyond cozy. Because I did early on, I had readers reply and comment and give me a low review saying that this isn't a cozy. So that they really did care very much to be very clear. Okay, after the launch. You have time. I understand from a lot of what Sharina's talked about in the traditional publishing world, there's a 3 month window where things need to get sold. That's the amount of time that the publisher is going to spend on any kind of promotion. You have t more time than you might have had in traditional publishing, that there's a longer tail that like even um, if I'd done no promotions before the book came out, there's time to do it later. There's time to do it a year later. You can do it anytime. So that's the first point. Is just to know you have time and you can try things. I have to say the thing I think has helped me the most with exposure is the free or bargain giveaways, and more free than bargain. And bargain's like 99 cents. The free by far have been what has gotten me the most downloads. And I feel like that's what's turned into my ratings and reviews too. I think a lot of them came from, they seem in time to have come at some point after I've done a free set of free downloads. And so these are some of the places I use. Free Booksy, Fussy Librarian, Robin Reads, eReader News. So you just contact them. You kind of pick your genre. You pay, there may be $50 to $90 for a day. On that day, you go in to Amazon and you change your book to free. You have to remember to do that in Kindle Unlimited will give you five free days every 3 months. So the Kindle Unlimited lasts for 3 months, and then you have to decide whether you're going to sign up for it again or not. And so during those 3 months, you have 5 free promotional days. And so I found that's where I think I've got by far the most exposure. Um, oh, and I think what's even working better now that I have a second book, and hopefully with the third and the fourth, is I did a free giveaway for my first book, so the Tangerine Dress, a month or two before Peridot Cufflinks came out. And I by then had a link in the back of that book. So that right as they finished the book, there was a link to pre-order for the next book. And now the link is to buy the next book. And so the free first book is leading people into buying the second book. And there are a lot of people who have series who make their first book permanently free because that just leads people into buying the rest in the series. And I don't know, I'd have to consider whether I did it or not, but I certainly will continue to periodically do free days for that book because then it leads people into the next book. Okay, which does still lead to the question, why give your hard work away for free? And I think I've kind of touched on this a little bit, but I wanted so badly to share my work with the world. Like we want to write something and then we want to have somebody read that thing. And I felt like I had written for a long time without really anybody reading it. And it almost started to make me not want to write much because it felt like, well, where is it even going? And I have this image of like a garden hose, and you know the ones that have the nozzle on the end that you can turn the water off. So like you turn the water on, it fills up the hose, and then it doesn't go anywhere. And so there's no new water coming in. And for me, getting my books out in the world and having people read them is like I open the hose and then new books can come in. And when I started writing the second book in this series, once I had that book out and I saw that people were reading it and I was looking at Kindle pages read every day, and it was so exciting because like people are literally reading my book today. It was so inspiring in writing the next book. So for me, the money part, like being paid for it right away, um, it's not that I don't ever want to be paid for my work, and I think we deserve to be paid for our work, but it also it was not the only measure of success for me. And it just got me so excited about writing that I got the next book done within like 6 months, and then I had it edited and all that. So like for me, giving the hard work away for free is just sort of a long-term plan to get it out there, find that people have an interest, get the next one out, and then eventually, hopefully, start making money at it. Okay, so paid ads. As I mentioned, Dave Chesson, Kindlepreneur, does a really great course on Amazon ads. Matt Holmes does one on Facebook ads. Um, I will not lie, those are time consuming. They're good, they're useful, but it takes a while to go through them. And then it takes a while to keep like checking on your ads and adjusting. It's not impossible to do, but it is something that takes a lot of time. I found it interesting, but if you're not interested in it, you could hate it. So I just wanted to say that as a caveat. It's a lot. Another way to go is that Instagram, as you know, like probably know, Instagram is linked to Threads and Facebook. And if you put something on Instagram and then boost it, it basically turns it into an ad on those other places. And so that's a simpler way if you don't want to go through the whole like how the heck do you do a Facebook ad? It also kind of matters where your genre, where the people read. Like, mystery, there are a lot of cozy mystery readers are on Facebook, so that's a good place for me to get in front of them is Facebook. And which, by the way, I have a separate author page on Facebook and a separate author Instagram because I don't think my potential readers need to see my Instagram. My old handle is Mom Goddess 8. So like that's a little unprofessional. So we just separate those two things out. Um, but there are definitely ways to do paid ads that other people have found effective, and if I put time in, they are effective for me. And then I want to talk about distribution beyond Amazon. So there's a thing called being wide or not wide. If you're only on Amazon, you're not wide. If you're other places, like you're trying to get your books in other places, that's considered to be wide. So if you're on Kindle Unlimited on Amazon, you're not allowed to sell your ebook other places. You are allowed to sell your paperback. So even though my ebook is in Kindle Unlimited, I have my paperback uploaded to Ingram Spark. And Ingram Spark is where bookstores and libraries buy. So if you get it on there, it automatically goes to like Barnes and Noble, and other places can buy from them. So even at like my local store, some of my friends went and asked for my book and they just ordered it off of Ingram Spark. Drafted Digital is also a place where you can upload your ebook. So the one exception to Kindle Unlimited not selling your ebook anywhere else is they now allow you to sell to libraries. So if you want to sell an ebook to a library so it can use it for Libby, you can upload your ebook to Draft to Digital. And then there's a section where you check off where you're going to allow it to be distributed, and you only check off the library options. I also found there's an independent online store called bookshop.org where I've uploaded my paperbacks. I have been running into some people who want nothing to do with Amazon, which I understand. They're totally allowed to have that. And so they're able to get my paperbacks from an independent online bookshop called bookshop.org. Okay. Um, Miscellaneous marketing. There's lots of places you could do paid promos. Um, Even the sites, like if you upload to Ingram Spark, they'll offer you a chance. Do you want to promote this? BookBub does promotions. They're also expensive. Draft to digital. People do blog tours. I have not yet done that, where you can do a paid, there are paid groups that then basically get your book out in front of a bunch of people. Like they give them to bloggers and they give them to people who will then present them and show them to their audiences. Um, you can have bookmarks, you can go to book fairs, you go to bookstores, you go to libraries. I myself have been seeing how far I can get from my own home. I'm, I'm trying to do this without a lot of out in the world stuff, but I have gone to some bookstores. I have a plan to talk to my library, but I will show you. I always carry my bookmarks with me. And so here's an example. It's the front and the back. It has my two books. The QR code goes to my website. You can link a QR code to anything, but some people send the QR code directly to buying the book, but some people recommend if you send them to your website, then they have a chance to see all your books, maybe sign up for your newsletter. It's a way that if for some reason things don't work out with Amazon, I'm still directing people to my own website. And they're just fun to kind of have in my pocket. And if somebody's chatting about things and I'm like, oh, I wrote a book, and they pull it out and they go, oh, that's so cute. It's very fun. Also, it's just kind of fun to make those things. So I've just made coasters as well. So I saw another business had some coasters out. I'm like, oh, that's a kind of cool thing. So they're just fun to have. And I keep a stack of these things in my car with the books and with pens for signing. And I have a square on my phone. So I've sold a fair amount out of my car coming out of pickleball or wherever else I am, if I happen to be talking to people about it. Okay, let's see. Okay, the dreaded social media. First, I would say not to stress about it. Easy to say. I would say, like, I think a lot of people feel a pressure to go on social media sites that they don't normally use themselves. And I think if you don't normally use a lot of social media, that it's a lot of effort for not a ton of return. I'm not convinced I've gotten tons of sales that way. I mean, that said, I think it's slowly growing, but I don't know that that's anything I would rely solely on as a way to sell books. Um, I like social media as another way to share little stories and comment on other people's work and see what other authors are doing. I think occasionally people might see my book through those, but it's hard to know. So I would like to say not to freak out if you're somebody who doesn't love social media and you feel like somehow you're missing the boat because everybody else had some TikTok video that went viral. Like I don't know that that's something I don't think that's the only way to promote your book. That said, here's my experience so far. Remember that Goodreads is social media. I think that if I was going to put any effort, I would definitely put it there. I like Instagram. That's what I've used a lot. So it's kind of easy for me to post things there. And I kind of already was posting. For a long time, I've taken pictures of things that I like and I put quotes on them. I just made those for myself. And that turns out to be something that is just very easily translatable to putting on Instagram if you want to show a little of the color of your life or whatever. So I do think I have found some people through Facebook and Instagram, which then also can go right to threads. If you do use those, I have recently discovered some of those, like Instagram has its own subculture called Bookstagram. So if you post anything about your book, you want to use a hashtag like Bookstagram, or you want to use the hashtags for your genre. So mine would be like a hashtag cozy mystery, hashtag amateur sleuth. That will start to get it to some of the audiences that like those. Um, I will say I do have like one or two good stories about it. One is that so when I uploaded my books to Book Sirens to get reviews before the book came out, one of the people who read it and really liked the book posted about it on her Instagram page. And because you're given the chance when you upload your book to add your own social media, she had my Instagram tag. So she tagged me in it. And so I said, I liked it. I said, thank you so much. That's so fun. And then she said something more about the book. And then she was just so positive that I private messaged her and I said, would you by chance like paperback copies of my books? I'd love to send them to you. And she was super excited. So I sent them to her. And then she did a whole unpacking video and showed my books again. So one of the things I've learned is like to really try to engage in a way that feels genuine to you. But that felt genuine to me. Like um, whatever they want to call like the book influencers love to hear from authors. They love it. And if they post something of yours, it's very appropriate to thank them and be excited about it. And I've ended up in a conversation with this woman who had posted that, and she's now on my ARC list for next year. And she just seemed really excited about it. So I think just getting engaging with them and doing it in a way that kind of feels natural. And it's a very slow build. Um, there was one other thing I wanted to say about that. Oh, so in a way, I'm thinking of social media as just another outlet for me to express myself. Um, I like to write books. I write a blog. I write a Substack. Um, but also social media, like if I'm not trying to chase followers and likes, which I decided not to do, I'm just going to put out the things that I like. And I thought so there was a thread on I think it was on X on Twitter, where somebody said told a story about she was in a salon and a woman ran in and she said, "Hey, I'm going to begin with my mom in a minute. Could you please tell her you're having a sale today on highlights for only $100? I'll pay the rest." And she ran back out. And so then she came in with her mom, and her mom was thrilled. And apparently, her mom was somebody who didn't normally spend a lot of money. It was fun. So then a lot of people were replying to this. So I replied with a story about my grandmother who was trying to move to our town. And she had all these requirements for the apartment that she was going to have. It had to be near a Catholic church, it had to be near a grocery store, it had to be near a salon. And she had a certain amount of money she was willing to spend. And they would find a place that fit, but she would say, nope, it's too expensive. God will take care of me. She was just very sure God was going to take care of her. And so eventually, my mom was getting so frustrated that they finally found a place. And my parents made a secret deal with the landlord, and they signed a secret contract to pay the extra amount for my grandma. And my grandmother said, "See, I told you God would get it done." And she was so happy to tell everybody. And I said, "I think God did get it done. He just used some boots on the ground to do it." So I posted that little reply and it got over 2,000 likes. So to me, telling that little story was just as enjoyable as writing my books. And so for me, it's just all where can I find the people to engage with and tell little stories to who might like my stories. So for me, that takes some of the toxicity out of social media. Okay. Okay, so other resources. Like I mentioned, I have this resource page on my website, and I every time I take a new class or I learn something new, I put it on there. So you're welcome to go on there. And I just actually added one. I found a woman who has herself a whole list of really great resources, and you'll find her on there. So she had like, I don't know, 30 more things than I'd ever even found. So I keep updating that. I found Reedsy to be really useful for editors. It has cover artists. You can go on there and tell what your project is, and people bid on it, and you can decide if that's an amount that you can pay and whether that's a person that's a good fit. Um, Obviously, local bookstores and libraries are places to get your books in and to ask for help. I've submitted to a bunch of contests and really got me involved with that. She sort of gave me a little nudge and she's like, "Oh, we should be sending stuff in." So I did some of those. Fingers crossed, we'll see if they do anything. And then I want to give some thoughts on AI. Um, completely anti-generative AI. So I have no interest in it creating any part of my book at all. I have found AI super useful in a lot of the things that I've just described. Like, so if I was trying to upload my book to Ingram Spark and I was stuck on a page because for whatever reason, I would go on to ChatGPT and I'm like, Ingram Spark, blah, blah, and it would tell me what to do. So, and then somebody had said, like, one of the classes and said, you don't have to really be on TikTok or know a lot about TikTok, but put like one video up of your book just so you have some presence. So I'm like, okay. So I ask ChatGPT, I'm like, how do you make a TikTok video? I have my own content, but I literally don't know like what button to click on. So like I'll click on the plus and then add that. So it led me through. So I do think that it can be very useful in the nuts and bolts of things that you get stuck on, especially technologically. So that's what I got.
Thank you, Lynn. I'm gonna just stop the share and
Oh
so
yeah.
we can see Lynn big and we can advance to questions. So
Yeah.
if you have a question, if you have a question, can you use your little reaction tool to like raise your hand and that way I can take you guys in the order in which you raise your hand. So sure, some of us might have questions. Susan, here you go. Let me just spotlight you, Susan, so you can join us and then off you go. Ask your question.
That was great, Lynn. First,
Oh, thank you.
that was just so helpful, so great. I learned so much. And so, did you say that you purchased 10 ISBN? Do you have to do that? Do you have a
No, you can buy
free?
them separately. So Bowker has them. You could buy one, but every version of a book has to have its own ISBN. So like your
Okay,
ebook and your paperback have to have an ISBN.
right?
And I had planned this to be a series. So I'm like, I'm going to need at least two, if not, I don't know if audio has to have another one. Like, um, you can pretty quickly eat up ISBNs.
And it reminds me
Mhm.
of, buying death certificates. How many do you want? I'm like, what? And then I thought, oh,
Yeah.
maybe you were thinking of, yeah, for your future books, when you do that with an ISBN, does it put them in order? Right?
I mean, I think my ISBNs are probably in order, but the like sort of because I bought them at the same time. But yeah.
It's
Yes,
very cool.
yeah. Build it and they will come, right? Buy the
Yeah.
ISBN and the book will appear to fulfill it.
Okay, I have more questions, but I'll ask them later.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Susan. George, you got a question.
Of course I do. I had a book come out last year from a small press, and then another one come out a month ago from the same small press. And the thing I learned between the two was that I thought that small bookstores, independent bookstores I'd walk in and I'd say, I'm an author. And they go, oh, please, please come and do a signing, do an event. And the reaction is like, our store is too small. We don't schedule those things. You won't draw a crowd. And I've had no luck with that. But if I contact Barnes and Noble stores, I can schedule events.
Mm.
Have you found that also to be true? And I'll add to that I've been able to schedule events I'm in Oregon. I can schedule them here, Colorado. I've scheduled one in Atlanta, Georgia, and other places like that. What's your experience been?
So this is where I'm happy to have people who've done more things than me because I knew there would be. I've only gone into Books Inc. in Palo Alto and they're very friendly and welcoming to local authors, but I have not tried to go to a lot of other ones. I have seen places like bookshop.org online and some independent online bookshops looking for independent authors, so I like might keep an eye out for those, but um it's good to hear about Barnes and Noble. That makes me more likely to go in there.
Well, I find that they initially what they want to do is have you like give a talk at 4 o'clock or something.
Hmm.
Instead of doing that, I say, I want to come in at 10 in the morning and stay until I sell out books.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be here till 4 or 5. And I've sold anywhere from 15 to 45 books in a day. at Barnes and Noble. So it's my plug for Barnes and Noble.
Oh, that's fantastic. So people add that to whatever I just said. That
And
is so good to know.
that's actually a really good idea to add,
Yeah.
George. Thank you so much. Like, yeah, like
Mhm.
you can actually, first of all, it's good to know that you can actually bargain, like what they,
Yeah.
the event
Yeah.
they offer you is not the event you have to take. Two, that you can, if you have the time, just offer to sit there until and sell all through the
I
day.
love
And
that.
I don't see why, Barnes and Noble would object. I'll come back though about the independent booksellers. I think that's so subject to who your booksellers are. Here,
Mhm.
most of the people in this room are from the Bay Area, and we are just well known to be well blessed with independent bookstores that are very, very supportive here. But
Mhm.
even amongst the bookstores here, as Lisa knows, I have one or two bookstores that I won't read at anymore because they were so shitty to me at one point in my career. It's like
Mhm.
some people, they're all personalities. And they're also all
Mhm.
businesses. So I never go in unless I can say, I'd really like this event, and this is how many people I can bring, or this is how many people
Mhm.
I can
Mhm.
reach, or this is my social media following. This is so that they have a feeling that if they give you that night instead of somebody else, that more, they've got a better chance of actually moving books.
Mhm.
So
If we have another minute, I can make another observation. Do we have time?
an observation, but not a question. Is it related to your first question?
Not a, yes, it's an extension on it. When you go in and sell books, some people sit down and or they're on their phone. So I spend the whole time standing up, and if anybody gets within 10 feet of me, I either say, "Good morning," or "I wrote these books," or
Mhm.
"Can I tell you about these?"
Mhm.
and get them to step closer and then talk to them, and that increases sales dramatically. That's it. That was my
Thank
thought.
you. That is
Yeah,
a
that's
great
great.
tip too.
Mhm.
That it's like you're standing up and having
Mhm.
different energy gives you
Mhm.
a different energy, and then having a more positive energy is always better. And also it gives you the. I also read, and this was from the Gap. The Gap had a certain way of training its sales assistants.
Mhm.
So they were saying that the first time, the aim is to get close enough to that person without intimidating that person or making that person feel like you're going to sell to them. So the first walk is always past that person.
Mhm.
So if you're standing up, you go and you inspect a bookshelf like that's on the other side of them. And then you come back, and on your way back, they've already seen you at the corner of the eye. They don't feel so pressured anymore. Then you go, oh, hi, are you interested in those books? I'm the author of those books. And then you kind of get in that way. But it's called the gap pass, which is that you walk past them first and then you come back and sell to them. All right. Well, thank you, George. Thanks for look at that. Two
Thank you.
bonus tips.
Yeah.
And I hope you have bonus tips too.
I don't I don't know if I have bonus tips, but this is not a trick question, Lynn, but I would say what is your one, like if you were recommending to an author and who's publishing their first book, what is the one thing you would say they must do?
You mean aside from like really good cover and blurb, like because
Let's
those.
say the book is already complete.
Okay.
Like, yeah,
Okay.
so it's in your marketing. What is the one thing that you think like it's a must do? Don't miss this piece.
I honestly feel like the free giveaways just drove so much of what worked for me. Like, because even if the book is free on Kindle Unlimited, people don't always know that, but these sites have like thousands and thousands of people where they send them an email every day. These are the free books today, and they go and they download it. And so they're literally looking for those books, and that got it in front of literally like 10,000 people or 16,000 people. So, um, uh, to me, for me, that's what really worked the best. I know it's different, like if you're a kid author or like middle grade
Yeah.
where maybe the kids aren't reading on e-readers. But certainly for what I was doing, that was like that's a no-brainer for me. I'll just keep doing those.
Having
Awesome.
said that, though, I once edited a middle grade author who very unusually turned down a traditional publishing deal. he was a debut author as well. And then he turned it down. And when I said to him, "Are you nuts?"
I was like, just like me, Sharon, just like me. I turned down all the big money. Uh, no, but it is harder. It is definitely harder with the middle grade. That's why I'm gonna make Lynn win contests. That's why we're
But
gonna win a contest.
what he did though was he decided to self-publish because he wanted the actual experience of the publishing. Like he wanted to control the entire project. Um, and then when he went out, he did a lot of free downloads as well. And it got his book for like 1 week to be number two. He wasn't number one, but he was like number two in the MGYA, adventure, whatever space. And he was only behind, um, what's Katniss's book again?
Oh, Hunger
Hunger
Games.
Games.
Yes, it was only number two behind Hunger Games, and it gave him like a huge amount of exposure. It did really well for him. At the end of the day, like you fast forward 2 years when I was chatting with him, I said, so how'd that all go for you? Did you end up regretting the traditional deal that you turned down? And he said, no, I have no regrets. He did the math in the end. He did not make as much money as if he had gone with it, taken the advance and run. But what he said to me was that he enjoyed the experience much more. And part of the experience that he enjoyed the most, like his personal satisfaction, was to be able to say, well, at one time I was second only behind Hunger Games.
Yeah.
So, it goes back to the Dear Steve-O. You have to figure out what you want and that's what you go for. And
Yeah.
depending on what you want, something different's going to give it to you.
I would add to that. I I don't think I would take a traditional deal if it was offered to me at this point. Like I really enjoy how this is all working. I like getting it out quickly. Like I'm planning a book a year and I feel like I can keep that going and I make it take a couple months to lead up to the launch, but it's not like a year or two later. I just like that the pipeline, like the hose is running and I can put my books out there and I can pick the cover and I like the team of people I've assembled. And so like I just am enjoying the whole process. I feel like when I was trying the traditional route, there's that bottleneck. Like if you can't get past not having an agent or whatever, you're stuck there. And I think I suffered a lot. And I'm not suffering anymore. I'm enjoying every aspect of this. I like it all.
That's hilarious. You should put that on a t-shirt. Best argument for self-publishing.
No longer
I'm not
suffering.
anymore.
No more suffering.
So did that answer your question, Anne?
It sure did. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Anne.
Thank you. Wendy, nice to see you today, Wendy.
Hi, Wendy. Oh, muted.
Unmute. Hello there.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm good.
First, highly endorse following Lynn's list off of her website, and I'll do a quick anecdote about that, and then I want to show another idea. When twice I wrote a book that links Vietnam and modern day, but it doesn't matter. But I give it away Memorial Day weekend and Veterans Day every year. I've been doing it for a few years. And up to this last year, I contracted with a marketing group to do ads and to get it out on Facebook and Amazon. And I'd end up giving away, I don't know, a couple thousand books every time. But this last time, after I've been playing around with what Lynn was doing, I targeted three of those free book groups that she had mentioned before. And so instead of it costing me about $1,000 to do this giveaway, for $150, I got the same amount of books downloaded.
Mhm.
So yeah, it hit like 2,200, I think, this year. And as you were saying before, and it bounced the book into the number one slot in political, historical, and wartime fiction, and a bunch of other stuff. So it's amazingly effective and is very reasonably priced. So then my suggestion is in addition to um, my book cards and things like that, I use Shutterfly for a lot of stuff, and I imagine there's other places to do this. But I have done a couple of giveaways off of my website and for people who have brought in new people to read it. And so I've got a mug with my book
Mhm.
covers on it. I've got a uh, magnet, you can get a bunch of stuff. And if you're working off a Shutterfly, you can get them when they do their sales. And so
Mhm.
it cost me like $15 to do a mug. So that was my other kind of
Yeah, and I'll just jump in
anything
and
to
say
keep it,
that.
anything to kind of keep it going. And
Mhm.
you're right, people were really like, this is really cool. So
And sometimes Shutterfly does this really interesting thing. I've done it with them twice where they'll actually give you 5 items for $1 per item.
yep, yep,
And
I've
you
done
think
that too.
that's not a real thing.
Yeah,
But done it with them,
yeah,
so here's my
I,
here's my
yeah,
notepad.
That's their version of the free giveaway, right? Like we're
yeah.
giving
That's
our book,
right.
they're giving their
I did it,
their
yes, I
product.
did the free
Yeah.
notepads and I've
Yeah.
gotten Christmas decoration,
Yeah.
kind of a fun thing
Yeah.
to do.
Oh, thank you, Wendy.
Yeah, thank you.
Lisa, you're up next.
Hi, Lynn. Thanks so much. This was really, I've been scribbling notes like crazy. So inspiring as well, and I love to see all that you've been doing. So my question is now you have a backlist. You've got 2 books out there, and I'm sure you've got another one in the works. So um, what would you do differently now that you have 2 books out? And also, what would you do to use your backlist to um, increase your exposure even more before your next book? And
Yeah.
how would you time
Yeah.
that exposure,
Yeah.
whatever campaign you do?
Yeah. So first of all, speaking backwards, I have 2 books I wrote before this, a young adult book and then just sort of a middle-aged kind of funny lady. And the interest I didn't know any of this when I did those. They probably need to be edited, so I haven't done a lot of promotion of them. But interestingly, people have gone back and bought those after. So there's just was sort of a natural, like people must have liked my books and they said, what else does she have? And so they went and bought those. So that's been sort of interesting. Um, I think with the third book in this series, I'm going to hit some kind of critical mass. I've like, from what I understand, the third book really does kind of get people going. So I think for sure I will continue to do the first book every probably 3 or 4 times a year. I'll do a free giveaway on that one because that's what's going to lead them into the second book too. But before the third book comes out, which hopefully would be like next January, I would do the same thing, but I would do it with both books where I would put both of my books as free. I probably would put the first one free and the second one at 99 cents and see if that would lead people into then reading the third book. Mhm. And I have a better idea too about like how to post some stuff about like, oh, case 1 is closed and now case 3 is about to open and like sort of generate some ads that way.
Nice. I love it.
Hmm. And I have figured out recently how to do Instagram Reels, which is basically taking some pictures and setting some music to them.
Mhm.
And I've put up and I've gotten some good reaction to those in terms of seems like a little bump in sales. So I think it's related to those. And then they automatically get put on Facebook, so I don't have to then go do that myself. So I would do more of that too.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Hmm.
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa.
Hmm.
So does anybody else have a question before we go back to Susan's second round? Anybody else? Susan, what was your
Mine was
big question?
answered,
Oh,
asked
Oh,
and
shoot.
answered. It was about like, well, maybe not exactly. How often do they put out that list of the free list? These books are free. How often does that list come out?
So each site sends that out daily. So
It's daily.
they send out daily to they have people who subscribe, like thousands of people subscribe, and every day they send them a list of these are the free books today. And so when they go and download them, you can kind of presume they might not read it right away. So there's like a long tail for where you see actually people reading it and then some ratings and reviews coming from it. But I definitely feel like, I mean, I could see the effect. So yeah, those go out every day. So there are people on them every day getting free books.
So so I read um one of your first
Oh, you
books.
read Mrs. Mango? Yeah.
I think that would be a really good play. I really think that would be a good play.
Thank you.
Um, but so when you started with, it's not really a trilogy, but with your cozy mysteries,
Yeah,
you're learning along the way,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
You're catching on to what's working for you personally,
Yeah.
which I really appreciated you talking about. Like,
Uh-huh.
and some things just aren't your style, and that's
Yeah.
perfectly okay because you don't want to feel forced. But as you've gone through these three, certainly something that felt awkward at first, maybe easier later.
Mhm.
Is there anything you can speak to about that?
I definitely I'm getting more and more clear on the structure of a mystery. So the first one, I had all sorts of suspects and I didn't even know who did it. And I was so it's like the plotter versus pantser. Although I've also heard it called planner versus pantser. And I'm now in the middle. I'm a plantser, they're called. Because with the mystery, it turns out you have to kind of know like a little bit of the plot ahead of time. You have to know like who the victim's going to be, what's the kind of basic mystery. So I feel like what I've learned from writing the first and then the second, like within the second one, it was much more clear to me what that structure needed to be, how many suspects I needed to have, how many like sort of red herrings, like what where a new body had to be found. Like and so this working on the third one, it seems even more clear in my head. And the fun part is I don't like how I'm going to get there, like what these characters are going to be like, who are going to do these things. But I do feel like it's become more clear. And I also learned from that first book and being in class with Sharon. The first one was way longer than it needed to be. It was way overwritten. I was a both show and tell person. I would do both. I cut like 30,000 words out of the first one, so I've learned to be more lean in my writing.
Whoa.
So now I use to save the cat, and so like when I start, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the first 10%, which is just the setup before the catalyst, and these are the things that have to happen in there. And I shoot for 80,000 words because I still overwrite, so it's going to be 100 if I do it that way. So I say, okay, so the 10% has to be 8,000 words, and that's about 4 chapters. So I need to, within these first 4 chapters, I need to establish these different things. And that keeps me from overwriting.
But you don't want to go back to your first one and re-edit it.
No, no, I still think the first one's fine. It just I had to edit it a bunch and I had to redo things and then I had to figure out I had to go back and put in clues and some different suspects. So I feel like it came out fine, but it took me longer to get all those pieces together. And I feel like each one I do, I have a more clear sense of what needs to be in there.
Okay.
Mm,
Thank you.
yeah.
So, thanks, Susan. I'm trying to get to your. Okay, Anne is back for her second round.
I'm
Yep.
back because I have a tip slash want to reiterate something Lynn said. Um, because she's been so inspiring and motivating to me to get me to do my book. And I had this feeling prior to publishing it that I had to do all that. Like, I think I had this traditional publishing mindset that like I had to do everything before the book launched. And so mine's kind of spooky, so I was planning to drop around Halloween, but I had the book cover ready and I had sent it to a couple review places, but those take like 8 to 12 weeks. And so you plan ahead, and even then, one of the reviews came like the week after I published it. And so I was feeling like, oh gosh, I didn't get these contests done or these reviews done in time or these giveaways because I just have a full-time job and I couldn't do it all. But there's no with a non-traditional published book, it doesn't really matter when you published it. I haven't gone around to school libraries or done bookstores or anything. Um, and most of my sales have come from like family and friends when I put it on Facebook or, a few things, some giveaways. But I just want to reiterate because Lynn was saying that you have time. And I think if you want to publish your own work, that's kind of the beauty of it. It doesn't feel like it expired because it went to Barnes and Noble in a big blitz and then they're going to take it off the shelf. So I just wanted to reiterate that because I think that's really motivating.
Thank you. Mhm. Okay, now we have to pick up the pace because now we have a lot of people inspired to ask
Okay.
their second questions. All
Okay.
right, George is back.
Audiobooks. Have you done anything with audiobooks? I've had
Oh,
uh, five. Um, I've had 5 books out with small presses, but none of them have done the audio, and they leave it up to me. So I'm just having one generated now,
mhm.
which is quite expensive, and
Mhm.
distributing it. I'm wondering if anybody else is, or you've done that, or what the experience is.
That is a great question. I get asked a lot. I do not have audio yet. I have spent a little time trying to research it. I found what you probably found is it's can be very expensive. There are cheaper ways to do it, but people don't always love those. I've had several people ask me if I could just record it myself because some authors do record themselves, and I've seen some people who've done that and been successful at it. I'm kind of curious to try that. And so that's on my list to actually try recording it myself. I think of the options that I've looked at, I would be most interested in that, both just because I like to figure things out, as I mentioned, and I'm cheap. So I think, and I so like some of the response I saw from people who hired somebody is they if you didn't like how they did it, you just spent all this money. And like one person said that they didn't capture the tone of her character. They made her sound kind of snarky when she didn't intend for her to be snarky at all. And like that would just be so painful to me to spend money and then not have a good product. So my guess is I'm going to try it myself. But a very good thing to raise because I think it like those do really well. And especially cozy mysteries, I think a lot of people would listen to.
You're right, it is quite expensive for the
Hmm.
production.
Hmm. Yeah.
Lisa, you recorded one of your books as originally for podcasting. Did you actually put that together into an audiobook?
Yeah, I've done two audiobooks and I've done them both ways. So the first one I hired a professional audiobook narrator and she was amazing. I mean, she did a really good job and captured all the accents and all the different characters. She did a phenomenal job. But it cost me about $2,000 to do that. It's a lot of money. And there's no way that, I mean, I'm not saying I'm never going to see that money, but I seem to be making about 20 cents a month in royalties, so it's going to take a while. And then I did it myself. Another book I
Mhm.
did myself where I turned my little closet into a
Mhm.
recording studio, and it was really fun. It was really fun, but I'm not I mean, I've done some acting, but I'm not a professional voice actor, so I know that I didn't capture all the voices. And if your audio book is, say, 10 hours long, you can expect to spend 30 hours in your closet because every time you trip over a word, you've got to like make a noise and then go so that the editor knows that that's a stopping point and then go back and re-record. And the longer you spend recording, the more tired you get and the more mistakes you make. I mean, it was fun. I would do it again, but it was grueling. And my local library actually has free recording studios, professional recording studios. So
Wow.
yeah, I would do it again, but it's really time consuming and
Mhm.
kind of physically grueling to sit there and do voices for 30 hours.
Well, thank you for giving us your
Yeah, I will say as well, just that I think I read somewhere that audiobooks usually make up about 10% of sales of a book across formats. So for an expensive output of
Mhm.
either time or money, I think the return so far from me has not been there.
Okay, so thank you for weighing in, and thank you, George, for the question. And now,
Mhm.
Dorothy, you have a question for us.
This is more about your reading tastes. I see you're very focused on cozy mysteries. How widely do you read across all literature and then within mysteries? Are you really focused only there when you read, or are you reading more broadly?
Oh, I love everything. I like, well, mostly everything. I mean, I read pretty broad. I like a lot of literary fiction. I like just general mystery. I like also the cozy mystery. I like I don't know, whoever, whatever the book club read it is, I tend to like those. So I really like everything. But I find, um, so I just have recently taken a class called Charm and Comfort. It's a cozy class, and they clarified a lot of what I like in and am trying to write, which is cozy mysteries are emotional regulation. So something bad happens, and then they intend you to have a scene where you feel cozy again. Like there, you drink a cup of tea, you put a soft blanket over you, and I realize I love offering that. And there have been a lot of times in my life where that's really what I needed to read, like not just escape, but also comfort. And
Mhm.
so that's why I'm drawn to write it. I like to offer that to other people.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you. Um, Wendy. Wendy is
Yeah.
back for the second round.
Uh, Great. This goes back to the audiobook
Hmm.
issue. On my first book, which is the one that is more of a historical fiction, and it had won some awards, and I was getting a lot of people saying I would really like to see that, but I only do audiobooks. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
I did spend a fair amount of money and had it professionally done, and it's actually brilliant, and I really love my audiobook. I had not planned to do audiobooks on the mysteries that I'm
Hmm.
doing because they're just much faster. And I didn't want to spend that kind of money. But Amazon is beta testing an AI-driven audiobook producer.
Hmm.
And so they sent me a note because because the first two books in the mystery series were up on through Kindle Unlimited and offered it to me to be a beta tester on it. And so I did both of my mysteries using this AI produced um, system, which I only felt a little bad about because I had not planned on spending any money or hiring anybody, so I wasn't putting anybody out of work at the moment. But it actually was pretty good and offered a number of types of voices, and you could change voices within the book. So you could have male and female voices, young and old voices, and with an overarching point of view voice.
Hmm.
So it was fairly flexible. It certainly wasn't nearly as good as the one that I paid money for, but to just have it as an available option, I decided it was worth trying.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I think that those automated voice options are so useful also for people. Like I'm thinking of my mom who
Hmm.
actually has trouble reading, it just I'm happy. Not
Yeah.
really for AI, but I'm very happy that it's making literature still accessible to a
Yeah.
lot of
Hmm.
people
Well, I'm
that would
finding a
be
lot of the
shut
readers
out.
that I was getting are older, and so
Hmm.
they're also kind of moving more and more into audiobooks
Hmm.
as well. So
Right,
this
right.
makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm also here interested in hearing other people's tips, like if they've found something that's useful, because I like this is so not comprehensive, what I have discovered. So I like hearing if other people have ideas.
That would
That
be
would be
great.
Mhm.
And so raise your hands if you have a tip you want to
Right.
share. Before we do that, though, seeing as
Uh-huh.
nobody else has a question, I was wondering whether just one thing that I thought maybe you could help clarify for us, for those of us who are not, um, who have never self-published before. You were talking about Kindle Unlimited, I think,
Yeah.
and the equivalent books from the page
Hmm. Hmm.
exposures and stuff. Um, didn't you also like get paid page reads though? Is that the same thing or a different thing?
Oh, yeah, so that's good to clarify. So, yeah, the number of Kindle pages that I reported, I actually get paid for those. You get paid 4/10 of a cent. So it's basically $1.50 per book. So of those 833, I got paid for that. So for sure. So you still make money when you're in Kindle Unlimited. So they pay the author by the page.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's free to the reader, but
It's free
the
to read.
but the author gets paid by the page.
Yes. Well, so if you pay like I think it's $10 a month to be in Kindle Unlimited. So you're paying to have access to, thousands and thousands of books. So and they're paying the authors for being in that program. Yeah.
Right.
Good
Got
clarification. Yeah, so like I'm happy. Somebody apologized to me. She's like, "Oh, I read your book on Kindle Unlimited, and I'm sorry that I'm like, no, I make money however you do it. That's fine. If you found it in the street, I would be happy that you read it."
But Lynn, for people who don't pay for Kindle Unlimited, they can
Yeah.
still buy your audiobook on Amazon, right?
Ebook, not
Yeah,
audio.
the
Yeah,
ebook.
yeah,
I
they
mean,
can
that's what I
still
meant, the
buy
ebook.
the ebook for,
Yeah,
I think it's $3.99, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
can
yeah,
still
yeah.
buy it for sure. So yeah, either they pay that, or if they're through Kindle Unlimited, then they Amazon pays me.
So it's free on Kindle. It's $3.99 for an ebook. What is your paperback going for?
It's funny you ask that because I just recently increased them. I think it's $15.99.
$15.99.
I think
And
it's
to you, how much is it paying? How much
so then I end up with like $4 or $5 out of that.
out of the print book?
Out
And
of the print book, because they have to it's the cost to print it and then ship it. So yeah.
right. And then the ebook is
So I get that's like at a 70%. They may have switched it to 60%. So it's $4. It's like 260
right.
maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does anybody else have any tips to share? Lisa, you want to weigh in?
No, I feel like I weighed
I'll just,
in.
Oh,
I mean, I think with George was asking about indie bookstores, and I've also had good luck doing events at indie bookstores. But what I find is they want to know how you're going to get butts in seats, basically, how you're going to bring people in. They want to know that you have a community, and, not just like friends and family who've been to your events, but that you can actually bring people in who are going to buy books. So if you've got friends, so for example, I had a friend who brought her book club. So that was great. So yeah, definitely leaning on friends to bring their friends. But yeah. Yeah, so I mean that's I think if you go to George, there's a bookstore here in California called Book Passage. Yes, Book Passage. And they actually have a little questionnaire on their website that they want authors to fill in before they do events. But if you look at that, it'll give you lots of good ideas for what you actually need to present to a bookstore to get an event. So you can pilfer their requirements list.
I know, I know. I've even had some bookstore. One bookstore wanted me to pay them $120 to go in, and another one wanted $40. This is a little bookstore on the interstate in the middle of Colorado. They wanted $40 for marketing. And I go back, I go, look, I make about $1 a book when I come in to your store, and you make about $8 a book when I come in and sell, and you want me to give you 40? I just won't, I will not pay to go. I know when they say, are you going to bring in a crowd? My answer is no, I don't know anybody around here to bring in. But if you let me sit at the table for 4 hours, I can sell 30 books and you'll make 200-300 bucks. So why wouldn't you want me? And I'm charming and smile and I don't like, hey, come back here, buy my book. I just chat with people and do it. So I mean, that's what's worked for me. And
I'm wondering whether it helped, George. Like, could you get any testimonials from the bookstores that have actually let you do that, where you have moved the 40 books?
I haven't done that, but what I do find out is that in the case of Barnes and Noble, there's usually a supervisor of like 6 stores. They're usually a manager at one of the stores and they supervise the rest. So they're influential in networking you around. I was just in Atlanta. I spoke to the Atlanta Writers Club. They flew me out. They paid my expenses. And so if you, in this case, I asked if I could come out 2 years ago, not knowing that I would have a new book come out, and it timed out perfectly for that. But I contacted a Barnes and Noble in Atlanta. I went in, I sold out all the books that they ordered in, and the manager said, if you want to come back, I can get you 3 days in 3 different Barnes and Nobles. You just let me know in advance, and they will set it up. So I would do that. I had one case here locally in a Barnes and Noble where a woman came in and just chatting with her, and she goes, "Oh, my book is about learning to play the cello when I was 71," which seems like only yesterday. And she goes, "Oh, you're like a senior citizen." I go, "Well, if you must categorize me." She goes, "I'm the recreational director at the Senior Citizen Center. I want you to come in and bring your cello, and I will buy 10 books from you and raffle them off for free to the people. Plus, we have a book club, and maybe you can come in and talk to them." Well, this is unexpected, but these things do present themselves. And so I look for those. I get to talk to people and find out. It's amazing the connections you can make.
I love it. I'm so impressed.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm wondering whether you can use testimonials
Yeah.
or you use a case study, do something to just prove that you can sell those 40 books, or they'll
Yeah.
just give you a chance.
Yeah.
Because any bookstore today would be happy with 40 books. When I started in 2002, my first book came out, we were seeing like 10 times the number of people at bookstore events than you see now, like on a regular basis. And it's just life has changed. They don't attract people anymore. Not even for people like Book Passage, who are famous for having a very, very robust list of you know, the crowds just get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So they want to know that you can turn them out, or that you have another way instead of turning them out, that you have this other approach that works, where you're willing to sit there and be charming, and that it can move 40 books for them at the end of the day.
Being
Okay, well,
charming.
thank you very much,
Yeah.
Lynn. Big round of applause if everyone who wants to take their mics off. Big round of applause.
Yay,
Thank you.
Lynn.
Yay,
Wow, thank you.
bravo.
Oh,
Great
this is fun.
Great.
presentation,
Thanks
Lynn.
so
Thank
much for
you.
doing this.
Yeah, that was
Thank you.
so helpful. Thank you.
So
Well,
great.
I hope so. I hope so. Like I took a while to find all that information, so I'm happy to share whatever I've got. So yeah.
Thank you,
And,
Lynn.
Thank you.
and I'm
Thank
just going to
you.
read one thing before I go, and that's from Robin, who's in Australia right now. Robin says, "Fabulous. Thank you so much. My mom listened in and says all the professors sound very modern. She also likes the tangerine cover." So, well done.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
professors,
you.
all of you. Hope to
Oh,
see
thank
you
you.
next month.
Thank
Bye.
Thank
you.
you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you.